my dear.
Here we are with ex-England international, turned manager, and now turned TV pundit, Gareth Southgate. Well, first of all, welcome to Sportsvibe TV, and you're here today to talk about a campaign you're backing.
Yeah, it's Drink Aware, and they're running a campaign called Hoof It, which is basically Drink Aware, try to raise people's awareness of problems that alcohol can create. They're not an organisation that like to preach to people, you know, it's not a case of don't drink, you know, and the dangers of it. It's just more a case of people being sensible, and with the World Cup coming up, obviously people will go into pubs, watch games, and basically we're trying to give away 10,000 footballs through regional centres. There's freestyle football sessions going on that people can go and watch. Give away the footballs to say, look, get off your couch, let's get out the pub for a spell, go and play football, bit of fitness, bit of exercise, and when you do have a drink in moderation.
Realistically, do you think England can win the World Cup?
Well, we can. I don't think we've played very well in the warm-ups. We're not favourites, and rightly so, but we have got some top quality players that on their day are capable of beating the very best in the world, and have shown at club level that they've made Champions League finals and semi-finals, so they're used to playing against the very best in the world, and they won't have so much fear, the guys that have, you know, the Rio Ferdinands, the Rooneys, the Lampards, the Gerrards, they won't have fear playing against the bigger nations. It's whether we've got a strong enough squad around that to be able to go all the way.
And I mean, the best showing an England team was Italia 90, well, the best recent showing was Italia 90 semi-finalists, and Euro 96, a tournament you know quite well, which was semi-finals as well. If England made the semi-finals this year, would that be seen as a success? Or?
Yeah, I think so, because I think sometimes we overestimate ourselves as a country. You know, we build ourselves up, but the fact is the only final we've made is 1966, and in the last 10 years, in the last 10 World Cups, I think there's only been 7 teams that have got to finals. The Italians, the Germans, the Brazilians are always there or thereabouts, and then the French more recently, the Dutch in the late 70s. So, you know, the pool of teams that are likely winners is actually quite small if we look at history, and we're not in that group. We've got a good draw, so you know there's a chance to get through to the quarter-final without actually having, you know, we could face the Germans in the second round if the groups worked that way, but the chances are we could get to the quarter-final and even the semi-final without taking on anybody that would frighten us.
And as I say, Euro 96 was a tournament which you featured in quite heavily, and sadly you missed that deciding penalty against Germany. First of all, what was it like to miss a penalty like that? I mean, it's something England seem to have a fascination with, missing penalties. For you, what was that like? Well,
you know, it's the previous tournament, 1990, Chris Waddling-Glenn and Stuart Pearce missed their penalties. Since then, there's been other guys that have, but mine seems to be the one that people focus on because it was the tournament here, and I was the only one that time. You can't begin to explain how that burden feels because, you know, 15 years on, it's something that still everybody relates to and speaks about. So, you know, you have to carry that on a daily basis, basically. And
in all fairness, you did take it. You took that quite well. You took it on the shoulder. I mean, you were in that Pizza Hut commercial.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you took it on your shoulders.
You have to. You know, what you've realised in life is that you have some great moments and you have some difficult moments, and it's how you respond to the difficult things that form you as a person and form your career.
And like, do you think it seems like England have like a fear of penalties? I mean, is it actually fear, or is it just a bit of bad luck? Or consistent bad luck?
No, I mean, I think it's a mentality. I think we're far more aware now of penalty shootouts and the preparation that's needed for them than maybe we were in '96. Although in 1996 we did win a tie on penalties against Spain. The regular penalty takers scored all 5 in that game. They actually scored all 5 against the Germans, so we missed 1 out of 11 in that tournament, which ratio-wise is probably as good as any country's had. But there's almost like a phobia within the country about it now, as much as there is amongst the players, and somehow we have to reverse that, and the whole thing has to become more positive. But the only way that will happen is if we win a shootout. And the likelihood is to get to a World Cup final or to win the World Cup, we'll probably have to win one along the way.
You've always kind of like always been there for the country, always been available for selection. First of all, like what was it like being disappointed, like missing out on a 2002 World Cup?
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, like you spoke about the other day, Jamie Carragher's decision to come out of international retirement. Is there kind of like this club versus country thing now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, 2002 I was in the squad, but I just wasn't used, so you know, that gave you a different insight into a tournament. I didn't expect to play when I went because Rio Ferdinand and Sol Campbell had been Sven's first choice pair for quite a while, so then you have to play your part as a member of the squad, and that's important for the guys going to South Africa. You know, there will be some that won't kick a ball, but they can destroy or make the group, because if they're too negative it can have a real adverse impact on everybody. In terms of the club versus country, I think it's only relevant for those that play for the biggest clubs, you know, those that are playing in Champions League matches, latter stages, because then, you know, their clubs are playing in some really important games, and arguably the Champions League, in terms of the quality of the players in there and the intensity of the games, is higher than a lot of internationals, really. But there's something special about the World Cup. You know, it is your country, and it is something that's unique because of that. So I never understand players retiring from international football. You know, you respect their decision, but I always wanted to play for England all the while I felt able to. If you feel you're not up to it, fine, but if it's for other reasons, I never understood the logic of it, really.
I mean, is it really fair that he's come back and all signs are pointing towards that he will make the squad?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I was one of the other players that's played all the qualifiers, I'd be pretty hacked off about it, but the fact is he's been asked back. It's not something that he's gone, you know, the manager's asked him to come back or asked him to reconsider his decision. So if the manager wants you, that's one thing. And I think it probably tells us quite a bit about Liverpool at the moment. You know, Liverpool were heavily involved in the Champions League when Jamie Carragher pulled out of the England squad. They haven't qualified this season, and he probably feels, well, now that club versus country thing, the balance has tipped back towards country at this moment in time.